Hello and welcome to this video. My name is David Thorne. Now in the previous videos we used a lot of Combine, we used a lot of Swift UI, and I showed you about how to do then UI view representable and so on. And we've showed you how to simplify lots of code down to a small amount of code using the power of Swift UI and Combine and generics. So there's going to be projects which you're going to have to do that are using lots of old legacy code. So it's really most important that you learn how to read it and understand it as well if you want to be a lead developer or at least a team leader or something like that. You've got to be able to cope with old legacy projects as well. So in this project, and I promise you this is literally a spontaneous thing and I haven't practiced this, all right, we're going to take Combine, we're going to take UIKit, we're going to take TableView, and we're going to try and create it as quickly as possible, doing it as well as we can, right, but without using Swift UI. And we're only using old legacy code. So with that said, let's just jump straight in. We're going to make an iOS app, and it's going to be called then a legacy table. All right, just something simple. Going to put it on my desktop, and we'll go from there. All right. So the first thing that we've got to do is let's just make this a little bit bigger. Let's add a table view to the view. All right. And let's just, actually we can just instantiate that straight away, nice and simple. And then view, add subview table view, and then table view, don't forget to do this because it can be really annoying afterwards if you forget and then you're checking for hours how to do this. And let's do the old pin. And if you want to see this, then slow this right down. I'm just going to speed it up. So now we've added our table view to our view. We've done the old obligatory constraints of false thingy bob. We've activated our trailing, leading, top and bottom anchor, and they all match the right things there. Next thing we want to do is to say that this table data source is going to be self, and just for the sake of it, we're going to say the delegate as well. Not really totally need it in this situation, but we'll do it anyway. And because I said in the last video, I much prefer to do this per extension rather than just add it in there. And table view delegates is here, and let's just copy and paste this and then put data source here, data source there. Very good. And then we're going to have a number of rows in a section. We're going to be items.count. We'll add them in a second. And cell for row at index path, we will just say UITableView cell in the beginning. Happy days. We need items, so let's add these items, and this is obviously what we're going to have to update, and let's just call it an item. We'll use a type alias in a second. Whoops, let's get rid of that, and let's use a type alias for item is equal to string in the beginning. Let's just get this working. That's all good. Added to the subview, done the constraints, added this, just need some data now. Do some data items equal, and then we'll just say 1 and then hundreds map, and then just say cell and $0, and we're kind of happy with that. And let's get a cell here, table view deq cell, and we'll just say my cell for index path, and cell text label text is equal to items and index path row, and let's just return this cell here. And before we do that, we need to say table view register, and we're going to register just a normal table view cell self with my cell. So yep, we've got this items count, we've got a cell, and we've dequeued it, and we're going to run this not on my phone, but it's on the iPhone 15 instead. And we run this, and we should get 100 rows and so on, just with cell 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way through to 10 once it loads. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but it should be. Once it loads, and we get all some error messages down here. Happy days. Okay, so there we've got our nice normal view. So now the whole point of this, we want to be able to load this data from somewhere. And what better place to load this data from somewhere than is here, and we'll just say hashable just for the sake of doing it. And we know that post has got a title and string and body and string as well. And if we want to be correct, we can say user ID is int as well. From JSON placeholder, I'll just grab the URL for this, and it is here. So let's get our URL string here. Happy days. So now we want to generate these. All right, well, we've got URL session. We've seen that all before, and we've got data task for publisher, and we'll just create our URL here and say URL string, and let's just change this to be URL string, and come pop that in there and give it a little bit the old exclamation mark. Shouldn't do that, but we're going to do it anyway. And we're going to say map. And remember, we don't care about the errors right now because it's not the whole point of this. So we're going to say decode, and we're going to say post.self, and we're going to make a JSON decoder. And next we're going to, we now have these. So let's just say receive on run loop, because we're not doing a lot of stuff here. So we do it on the run loop instead, run loop main, and then we can sync this. Do we want, yeah, whatever, let's just do that there and deal with this. This is not the main part of the video, but we're going to have to get this boilerplate code done in the first place. Finished, and we'll just say print finished. And if we got an error, which I'm guessing we're probably going to have an error at one point because I'm probably going to have forgotten to do something, and sync receive code. So posts is then self.items is equal to posts, and we need a cancelable, which means we're going to need combine in here as well, and then come to here to say cancellables is equal to we'll just say a set of any cancelable, instantiate that, come back down here again and say store in cancellables here. Posts and items don't match because we've said string, so we're going to say post here. Happy days, and now that doesn't match here either. So let's change this rather than having items, because we don't need that anymore. We should be able to update this. And now index path here doesn't work because we just want the title instead. And we run this again. Finished. Okay. So because finished. Yeah, this is the trick, right? So we received the items. Let's run again. And nothing changed, right? It's because we have to say table view, let's say self table view reload data, right? And let's just see it again. Boom, we get it. We're on the main thread, right? So we can run this, and there we go. We get all of our items, right? So this is showing you how to do it with the table view, right? This type of code here, obviously with Swift UI, you don't need it. So you could extract this to some form of pin to super view edges or something like that, and that would obviously go with inside of it as well there. And this registering the cell, it's really one of them simple things that you can do. However, this is the area where you've got to be most careful with, because saying table view reload, it is all well and good, but there could be some information. You're doing a complete refresh here, right? You're doing a hardcore refresh on the view, and someone could be scrolling, and then you get this data and stuff. So it's kind of important to check to see whether or not, to check to see when you do the update, if you are still scrolling, then just wait until it stops and then do the update, and then update only visible cells first of all, and add and insert and stuff from the array. It's a lot nicer, but this is what makes it a lot more difficult to do it with the table view, because you will encounter these things where you've got to be, wait a minute, we've got new data coming in, we've got maybe data leaving as well, or changing if it's been sorted by date and time, or sorted by popularity, or sorted by something, then as you're scrolling and these new items come in, the order of this stuff could change. So you've got to be really you've got to be careful about when calling this and how you call it. So either have someone say like a pull to refresh, and then stop the screen from being able to scroll. And if you're coming down the bottom and you can do like an infinite scroll, this is okay, because you can check when one of the things will say display for row here, and here you already know how far from the bottom are we, because you've got the index path. So if like index path dot row is then more than items dot count length minus 10 or something like that. If it's more than this, and then less, if it's more than this now, then you could load more data, if you know what I mean. And then when you do get the more data, you can add them onto it. But this is where you've got to be difficult, because you don't necessarily want the view to like scroll back to the beginning again. You just want to add the data to the items here, and you don't really want to change this, because as far as you're concerned, nothing has changed, but you just want to add more data to it, right? And there's other things like insert rows at index paths with animation, all right? And this here, you know, if you're displaying, say, cell 20 here, down here, and you've got, say, 30 cells in total, and then you get another 20 new cells, then all you've got to do is then create and generate these new index paths and tell the table view, hey, this is how many index paths I've got now, all right? For the next time when you start calling the data source for anything. And you don't really want to have a reload data, because when you insert cells at index path here, you're adding more as well. All right, so this is always something to remember it by. But I would suggest for you to experiment with this, because there's a whole bunch of different scenarios where you've got to be careful about this. Anyway, with that said, how can we make this shorter? Well, this obviously can come to some form of view model, you know, up here, just say like a view model, whatever, and then function load data here. Well, it's not 8, we want this, and we just pop this into there instead, and then we take this and place it in there, and we've got that. And now the items we can take and extract from here, and we know we have a post there like that, and we've got the cancellables as well we can take to here. So you know we've now basically completely extracted it from there, right? And this is where you could, if you wanted to, have some completion handler here, and like this, for example. And in this, you're going to have like an array of items here, right? So instead, you could just say completion here and then posts, and you could keep them saved as well. Right, so if you do need them next time, they're already saved. So when we come down here now, we could say then just like view model is equal to view model, and we just instantiate this. And then we can, let's just get rid of this method, and we can say view model load items, and then we can say we now need to come to here, for example, and say view model items here, right? And view model items counts, and now here we need to say view model items, and then index path once again, index path row once again, and then title here, like that. So now you're accessing the information from the data, and when you get more data, this is where you could then say table reload. Once again, this should still work, I'm guessing. We've only just moved its stuff out to this. Oh, build fail. Yeah, okay. This is We need escape in there, like that. That will now work, and now it all works just fine. So now you've made your view a lot smaller, right? You've made it a lot smaller, and now you've only got the likes of the view stuff, the constraints and so on. Add in the data source here, add in the different cells, and so you'd obviously want to have a weak self here, so you don't make any memory leaks and stuff for strong references. So there, you've now got this. So this is now your view model here, and if you wanted, you could also extract this here, this function here, to your view model as well, right? And we could just say self. We don't. We could have the table view in there if we wanted. So then we could just say items here and return the item. All right, this method is more returning the yeah, okay, could return the cell. Let's just leave that there. You could just do this with the cell, that's no problem as well. And so every single time you come to this, you could then just say here instead, say view model, table view here and stuff, self index path, and go on from there. Now your view is literally completely kind of generic now, all right? But well, it's not generic, it's just a lot less. And so now the question is can you move this data out now to register any cells that you've got? And I suppose you could say then function register cells, and here come here with a table view like this, if I can even get this done correctly, come like that. And now you could do your own table view. You could do your registration now with inside of your own with the own view model as well, and your view doesn't have to care about this now, so you just say here table view, and that now registers it once again, and so on. And obviously these stuff here can also come to your view model as well if you wanted it to, and then we just have self items as well, and then we just have here what did we have there, sorry, we wanted we don't want let's just say cell for row at index here like that instead. And here we can get rid of this and come cell for row at index instead. You could then make that private and so on. And now rather than making the view controller, we could then just say the view model does then this like that instead. Needs to be an NS object as well. That's not a problem. We can come to the top, make it an NS object. Let's see whether this builds. What's now the problem? Data source is view model. Well, okay, view model is now the data source. The delegate is done by, sorry, we want the table view data source is equal to view model. That's what we just did. And we still get the same thing, all right? So this is fine. You could, rather than put it down there, you could bring this up to the view model instead, like this. Let's get rid of that there. And redundant, let's get rid of this. Happy days. So you now managed to reduce this down, and we could move this to another file instead, and put it in another file just to be cleaner. Obviously, view model is a terrible name for this, because it's not saying what type of view model it's for, and we'll just do UIKit there. And any cancelable, obviously we need combine here, which means we now don't have combine inside of our file here, and we have our view model. We only have the delegate information. So this view is now very, very much just concentrating on showing the data instead. And yeah, we're now handling reloading the data, but we don't really even need these items there. But you could use these items. This could be index paths here instead if you wanted to reload it as well. But so with that said, I hope you've now seen how this is very much possible using, let's just tidy this up a little bit. And that can be then private too. And the URL can be private too as well. And that also can be private potentially. There we go. So now you've got this public load data with the items. You need to handle some errors here as well. Let's just move this private function down the bottom. And then you've got a little bit better information here now. All right. And you could also have, I don't know, your up here, for example, you could have like cells, and this could be then UITableView cell and stuff like that. All right, and you could have this could be here, all right, like this. Let's say type here, that works fine. And then all you got to do is come down here instead and say table view. Well, actually, sorry, we want cells for each, and we can then just say table view cell register the $0 self, and then we can just say string describing here instead, just say $0 self, and this works fine as well. So we don't necessarily actually have to have a what did I do wrong there? Let's have a look. Oh yeah, okay, fine. That was because inside of our view model, when we were running this, we were saying my cell. So really, this is where you might have to start checking which cell you actually want to do for this one item. All right, so it's not going to totally work there, but in this sense, we can just say string here and describing and UITableView cell self, and this will work once again. So this didn't 100% work in that sense, but this is the type of idea that you could do as well if you wanted to handle multiple cells here with inside of it. Your item would really need to know what type of cell that it handles as well. You know what I mean? So it's, if this was a heterogeneous array of different types, then they might be able to say, okay, I deal with a different table view cell, or alone this one. This could be a view model of the item as well, so an item view model here too. So you could potentially say an item view model 2 right here that contains a an item of type post, for example, and then inside this function you could then say like here, you could then have another function here like this, and this could then take the cell for the row index path, and from here you could then work out obviously your item your item here title instead. All right, so you now know what type of index path you've got, all right? And as you go through the items, you could have then I don't know, this cell identifier here as well, right? And this is what could be used for the registration for the items instead. So rather than coming to here, you could then say items. If you already know the items then could come through and register the item here instead, and so on. So there's loads of different things that you could do. All right. Yeah, there's loads of different things that you could do with this, and how you can manage to try and extract as much data away from the view controller, the view itself, and then when you actually come to the view model, try and extract as much data away from that into the individual item, and let that individual item display and control its own view, because you know your table view should have its own view model to control it, but then the individual subviews should also be able to control how they look as well. And this is the whole point of composition, is that, you know, there's no main massive view controller, MVC. It's just lots of individual composite views with their own view controller or their own view model and so on, controlling themselves and stuff like that. So with that said, I'm going to leave this one video here. because I think I've talked about it enough. And so if you scroll back now to the video that I made previously, showing you how to use the likes of view models before we started using UI, Swift UI and so on, I showed you about with generics how to use view models and views and so on. And then we slowly moved into Swift UI, and then we kind of moved out back into UIKit, because the whole point here is that you need to have this wide look at things and see everything. How can I do this on a massive level? And regardless whether or not you are using Swift UI or UIKit or AppKit or whatever, you know that I follow the same process. Now, Swift UI makes things a lot easier because you don't need these controllers anymore, because Swift UI is handling that in the background. All right, so all of the work that we do with inside this controller here, we have done already, or it is being done already by Swift UI. But you still need to have to think differently, because there are going to be times when you use other frameworks, other parts of Apple's technologies, where you don't necessarily have Swift UI in its entirety to help you. All right. With that said, I hope you've got something out of this one video. I hope you've learned something from this one video. If you didn't, then maybe you will in the future. But I know that there's some important things here that you can take away. You might not understand why, but maybe future videos will help you. And maybe over time with experience, you'll go, okay, I remember David saying this. So don't forget to like, subscribe, share, do all of the other social media things that are out there. Remember, I do these videos for you, and it's all about making you a top developer, not just making you a standard developer. So we're talking more about the intricate details, and I'm making sure that we look under the hood all the time. All right, we're adding as many golden nuggets as possible. I'm trying to just give you as much information as I can in small amounts of pieces, so they stay with you. All right, your aim, in my opinion, the aim of this video is for you to be knowledgeable and to be able to pass your knowledge to other people. Remember, someone else gave me this gift, and now I'm passing you my gift onto you. And please do the same and pass your gift onto other people as well with your experience, because you will see things in your own perspective. You will have learned things from other ways, other things, and so on. So you need to add your own little bit of extra flavoring to how you say this to people. If you've got any questions about how I've done this in the past, then put it in the comment section below, and we can have a conversation about it. Maybe I can make another just a video about the ideology that I have about learning programming and the ups and downs and stuff like that. So with that said, my name's David Thorne. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao, ciao, and goodbye.